In a small, run-down house where cold wind slipped through every crack, Evie was trying to steady the weak, rattling breath of her sick husband, Ray, when a sudden pounding shook the door. She grabbed a dull kitchen knife, ready to ignore the noise. But the faint plea of a man and the desperate cries of a pregnant woman made her realize she couldn't leave them outside. When Evie opened the door, the young couple, frozen and exhausted, collapsed into her arms. And, the moment she pulled them inside, warmed them, fed them soup, and delivered the woman's baby with her own hands, became the night that changed all their lives forever. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness like a knife, shaking in Evie Johnson's wrinkled, deep brown hand. She wasn't supposed to be awake at 2 a.m., but these days sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when Ray's breathing sounded like that, wet, rattling, like someone drowning on dry land. Boom, boom, boom. The pounding on the door made her jump so hard the flashlight nearly slipped from her grip. Her heart hammered against her ribs, and for a second, she forgot how to breathe. Nobody came out here. Nobody. Their house sat at the end of a dirt road that half the county had forgotten existed, surrounded by woods so thick you couldn't see your neighbor's porch light, even if they had one. "Ray," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the howling wind outside. The storm had been building all evening, and now it sounded like the devil himself was trying to rip their roof off. "Ray, someone's at the door." Her husband stirred on the worn couch they'd converted into his makeshift bed. The bedroom upstairs had become impossible for him weeks ago. Too many stairs, not enough oxygen in his lungs. The plastic tubing from his oxygen concentrator snaked across the floor like a lifeline, and Evie had learned to step over it without looking, the way you learn to navigate your own home in the dark. "Who?" Ray's voice cracked, and he dissolved into a coughing fit that sounded like his lungs were tearing apart from the inside. Boom, boom, boom. Evie grabbed the paring knife from the kitchen table. Dull. Hadn't been sharpened in probably 5 years, but it made her feel less helpless. Her feet stayed planted right where they were. Every instinct screamed at her not to open that door. You didn't open doors in the middle of the night. Not out here. Not when you were two old people with nothing worth stealing except the oxygen machine keeping your husband alive. "Evie." Ray tried to sit up, his skeletal frame barely making a dent in the pile of blankets they'd heaped on him. "Don't. I'm not." Her voice came out harder than she meant it to. "I'm not opening anything." She swept the flashlight across their living room, water buckets catching drips from the ceiling, wallpaper peeling in long, sad strips, furniture that looked like something from a yard sale nobody wanted to buy. But it was theirs, and it was warm, and whoever was out there could be anyone. A drifter, someone desperate enough to hurt two old people for whatever they could find. The pounding came again, weaker this time. Then silence. Evie's grip on the knife loosened slightly. Maybe they'd given up. Maybe they'd move on to... A sound cut through the storm, not a knock. Scratching, like fingernails dragging down wood. And then a voice, so broken it barely sounded human. "Please." Evie's feet carried her 2 steps toward the door before her brain caught up. She stopped, hand trembling on the knife handle. "Please, my wife, she's pregnant." The words hit Evie square in the chest. She stood frozen, the knife suddenly feeling heavy as a brick in her hand. It could be a trick. People lied. People said whatever they needed to say to get what they wanted. She'd seen it in the ER. Drug seekers who'd fake anything. Con artists who'd spin stories that'd make you cry. But, God, that voice. "Evie, no." Ray's whisper was fierce despite how weak it sounded. You don't know who." "I know." Evie didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on the door, watching it shudder with each gust of wind. "I know, Ray." Another sound. A woman's voice this time, high and panicked, barely forming words. "Please, God, please, the baby." Evie's free hand moved to the deadbolt, then stopped. 30 years of ER night shifts. She'd learned things. She'd learned that people were capable of anything when they were desperate. She'd learned that trusting the wrong person could get you killed. She'd also learned something else. She'd learned the sound of real desperation, the kind that couldn't be faked, the kind that came from someone's soul when they had nothing left. "Evie!" Ray was trying to get up now, fumbling with his oxygen line. "Please, don't." Her fingers touched the cold metal of the deadbolt, but didn't turn it. The woman outside made another sound. Not words anymore, just a noise of pure agony that made every hair on Evie's arm stand up. That wasn't fake. Evie had heard that sound too many times to count. That was the sound of someone in labor. Real labor. The kind that meant a baby was coming, whether anyone was ready or not. "If I don't open this door..." Evie's voice cracked. She wasn't talking to Ray anymore. She was talking to herself, trying to convince herself, trying to find permission in her own words. "If I don't open this door, Ray, and there really is a pregnant woman out there. If you do open it, and it's not..." Ray dissolved into coughing again. The scratching came once more, weaker now. Fingernails on wood. Then the man's voice, barely audible. "Please. She's so cold. Please." Evie closed her eyes, took a breath, made a choice. Her hand gripped the deadbolt and twisted. It stuck. Hadn't been oiled in forever, and she had to throw her whole weight against it to get it to turn. The second lock gave easier. Her fingers found the doorknob. "God, forgive me if I'm wrong," she whispered. She yanked the door open. The wind hit her like a fist, so cold it burned. Snow blasted into the house, stinging her face, soaking into her nightgown in seconds. But Evie barely noticed because there were two people on her doorstep, and they were dying. The man, tall, well-built, wearing what had probably been an expensive jacket before the storm tried to kill him, had his arms wrapped around a woman who looked ready to collapse. Both of them were covered in snow, their lips blue-purple, their whole bodies shaking so violently Evie could hear their teeth chattering over the wind. Relief hit Evie so hard her knees almost buckled. Real. They were real. Not con artists, not criminals, just two people who were going to freeze to death if she didn't move. Inside. She dropped the knife, grabbed the man's arm, Jesus, he was frozen solid, and pulled. "Now, both of you, inside." They stumbled over the threshold and the woman let out a sound that was half sob, half moan. Evie slammed the door shut, throwing all her weight against it to get it closed against the wind. For a moment, nobody moved. The only sounds were the howling storm outside, Ray's labored breathing, and the steady drip, drip, drip of melting snow hitting the floor. Then Evie's flashlight beam found the woman's face, traveled down to her stomach, and Evie's heart stopped. The woman wasn't just pregnant. She was ready to pop. Her belly was so swollen it looked painful, and she was clutching it with both hands, her face twisted in a grimace that Evie knew too well. "How far along?" Evie's voice came out sharp, professional, the nurse voice she thought she'd lost years ago. 39 weeks. The man's voice shook, not just from cold. "We were trying to get to her father's place. The hospital said 1 more week, but the storm came out of nowhere, and our car, it went off the road about 2 miles back." 2 miles? Evie's mind raced, calculating. In this storm, 2 miles might as well be 200. They'd be lucky if search and rescue could get out here by morning. "Both of you, get away from the door. We need to get you warm." She turned her flashlight on Ray, and her heart clenched. He'd managed to push himself into a sitting position, his oxygen line tangled around his arm, his face gray in the weak light. But his eyes, his beautiful, stubborn eyes, were alert and focused. Ray Johnson. She used his full name, which meant business. "Don't you dare. The wood stove." His voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through everything else. I can get it going. You can't even stand up without..." "I can do it." Ray's jaw set in that way it did when he'd made up his mind about something. He reached for his walker, a beat-up aluminum frame they'd gotten from a church charity, and started pulling himself up. The young man moved forward instinctively. "Sir, let me help." "Boy, you can barely stand yourself." Ray waved him off, but there was something in his voice, not unkind, just matter of fact. "Get your wife by the stove. Evie, you got any dry clothes?" Evie was already moving, pulling open the hall closet where they kept everything they owned. "Strip," she ordered the young man. "Everything. Don't argue, don't be modest. Just do it. Those wet clothes will kill you both faster than the cold." The woman, poor thing, couldn't be more than 25, let out another one of those terrible moans. Her hands pressed against her stomach, and Evie saw her face go white, then red, then white again. Oh no. Oh God, no. How far apart are the contractions? Evie's voice stayed steady even as her mind started screaming. This couldn't be happening. Not here, not now. Not in a house with no electricity, no phone service, and no way to get help for miles. The young man's face went from pale to gray. Contractions? No, she's not. We have a week. The doctor said. The baby doesn't care what the doctor said. Evie thrust a bundle of Ray's old clothes into his arms. Flannel shirts, work pants, all too big, but dry. Get changed, now. I need to check your wife. She knelt beside the woman, ignoring the protest from her arthritic knees. Up close, she could see how young this girl really was. Smooth skin, expensive-looking earrings, a wedding ring that probably cost more than Evie's house. But right now, none of that mattered. What's your name, honey? Emma. The girl's eyes locked onto Evie's, and Evie saw pure terror there. Emma Harrington, is my baby. Oh God, is my baby okay? Evie took Emma's hand, felt her pulse, too fast but strong. That was good. Your baby's fine, but I need you to tell me the truth. When did the pain start? I don't know, maybe an hour ago, but they're not real contractions, right? Just Braxton Hicks or something. Another moan escaped Emma's lips, and her whole body tensed. Evie counted in her head. 30 seconds, 40 seconds, a full minute before Emma could breathe again. Behind them, Evie heard Ray grunting with effort, heard the metallic clang of the wood stove door opening. The stubborn old fool was actually doing it. In the corner, the young man, Cole, she heard Emma call him, was struggling into Ray's clothes with shaking hands. Evie looked at Emma's frightened face, then at the snow still battering the windows, then at her husband who could barely breathe on his own. And she knew. Deep in her gut, with the certainty that came from 3 decades of delivering bad news to families, she knew. This baby was coming tonight. The wood stove crackled to life, casting dancing shadows across the walls. Ray had somehow managed it, dragging himself across the floor with his walker, feeding in kindling with shaking hands, all while his oxygen tank hissed beside him. Cole. Evie's voice cut through the chaos. That's your name, right? The young man nodded. He'd changed into Ray's old flannel shirt and work pants, both hanging off him like he was a kid playing dress-up. Help me get Emma closer to the stove. Together they half-carried Emma across the floor. When they lowered her onto the blankets Ray had spread near the stove, she curled into a ball immediately, her body still racked with tremors. I'm so cold, Emma whispered. Why am I still so cold? Evie had seen this before. The cold wasn't just in Emma's body, it was in her bones, in her blood. Ray, where's that quilt your mother made? Bedroom closet, Ray wheezed from the couch. Evie found the quilt. Heavy, hand-stitched, probably the most valuable thing they owned. She thrust it at Cole. Strip her down. Wet clothes will kill her. While Cole worked, Evie grabbed her ancient medical kit. When she returned, Emma was wrapped in the quilt, only her face visible. Better? Evie knelt beside her. A little. Emma's voice was stronger. I think the baby's moving less. Evie's heart skipped. When did you last feel movement? Before the car went off the road? I don't know. Emma's eyes widened. Is that bad? Babies get quiet when mama's stressed. Evie pulled out a thermometer. It's normal. 95.3. Too low. Tell me what happened, Evie said, keeping her voice calm. Cole ran a hand through his wet hair. We were driving to Emma's father's place. He just had heart surgery. The doctor said we had time, that Emma wasn't due for another week. Nobody thinks a storm's going to try to kill him, Ray said quietly from the couch. The road just disappeared. Everything was white. Cole's hand shook. We went into a ditch. I dug for an hour, but the battery was dying. I realized we'd freeze if we stayed. So you walked 2 miles in a blizzard. Evie pressed her stethoscope against Emma's belly, listening. There, a heartbeat. Fast but strong. Your baby's heartbeat is perfect. Strong as a horse. Emma started crying. Big, gulping sobs. Cole dropped to his knees beside her, gathering her up. I'm sorry, Emma gasped. We shouldn't have tried to drive. This isn't your fault, Cole said firmly. Evie stood up and moved to the kitchen. She opened the fridge with a sense of dread. 1 carton of eggs, 3 left, half a loaf of bread, some wilted carrots and celery, a can of chicken broth she'd been saving. This was everything they had until next week's pension check. Evie, Ray's voice was soft. What are you doing? Making soup. Her hands were already moving. These kids need food. We need that food. They need it more. Evie pulled out the vegetables. Don't argue with me. She heard Ray's labored breathing. Then quietly, you always were too good for this world. Evie focused on chopping, cutting away bad parts, dicing what remained. The carrots went in first, then celery. She cracked all 3 eggs into the pot. The broth can open with a rusty squeal. It wasn't much, but Evie had learned long ago that the difference between nothing and something was just intention. I can smell something, Emma said from near the stove. Soup. It'll be ready soon. You don't have to. We don't want to take your food. You're not taking anything. I'm giving it. Evie kept stirring. Besides, I already ate. I'm full. It was a lie. Evie hadn't eaten since yesterday morning, but some lies were necessary. The soup bubbled and steamed. When it was ready, she ladled it into their 2 good bowls. Here, she brought them over. Careful, it's hot. Emma took the bowl with both hands, inhaled deeply. Oh my God, this smells amazing. Cole started eating like he'd never seen food before. Emma was more careful, but Evie could see the hunger in every spoonful. I've never tasted anything this good in my life, Emma said, looking up with wonder. That's just hunger talking, Evie said. No. Emma shook her head. I mean it. This is incredible. From the couch, Ray let out a weak laugh. She's been making miracles out of nothing for 50 years. When Emma finished, she stared at her empty bowl like she couldn't believe it was gone. Evie took the bowls, rinsed them quietly. Thank you, Cole said, his voice thick. I don't know how to thank you enough. You can thank me by getting some rest. As Cole helped Emma settle, Evie caught a glimpse of his watch. Expensive. His wedding ring, too. Platinum. Thick and costly. These weren't just young kids. These were rich young kids. The thought made her uncomfortable. She looked around their tiny house. The buckets, the peeling wallpaper, Ray on his oxygen machine. What must they think of this place? But when she looked back at Cole, he wasn't staring at their poverty. He was staring at his wife, at the way her breathing had finally evened out. She's asleep, he whispered. Good. Let her rest while she can. You think the baby's really coming tonight? Evie looked at Emma's swollen belly. I hope not, but hope doesn't stop contractions. Cole's face went white. But you're a nurse. Was. Past tense. Evie straightened up. It's been 50 years since I delivered a baby. I don't have equipment, supplies, or even clean towels. But if the baby comes, we'll deal with it. Evie met his eyes. But I'm not going to lie. This isn't a hospital. If something goes wrong... She let the sentence hang. Cole swallowed hard. I understand. Evie settled into her chair and picked up her vigil. 4 people in a tiny house waiting for morning. She looked at the sleeping faces and prayed. Prayed the storm would end. Prayed help would come. Prayed she wouldn't have to deliver a baby with nothing but memories and desperation. But mostly she prayed she'd made the right choice when she opened that door. Morning came gray and bitter. The storm had stopped, leaving behind a world buried in white. Evie had dozed in her chair, waking every few minutes to check on everyone. Emma's eyes opened, took in her surroundings in the weak morning light. The water buckets, the peeling wallpaper, the ancient stove, the poverty of it all. Morning, Evie said. How are you feeling? Better. A little sore, but okay. Emma sat up slowly. And the baby? Emma's hands went to her belly. Moving. I can feel movement. Good. That's real good. Cole jerked awake with a gasp. Emma, is everything? I'm fine. We're fine. But Cole's eyes were moving around the room, taking in everything in harsh daylight. Evie watched his expression shift. Shock, discomfort, something like pity. The roads, Cole said. Can we get out? Can we call for help? Phone lines are down and I don't have a cell phone. Cole pulled out his smartphone. He tapped at it, his face falling. No signal, nothing. Cell towers 15 miles away, Evie said. What about the road? They don't plow this far out until the main roads are clear. Could be noon, could be tomorrow. She watched the implications sink in. They were stuck here. Oh God, Emma's hand moved to her stomach. But what if the baby... Then we deal with it. Evie stood up. But worrying won't help. You kids must be starving. We don't want to be a burden, Cole said quickly. You haven't taken anything I didn't offer. Evie opened the fridge. Empty. Completely empty except for butter and half loaf of bread. She opened the freezer. There, in the back, was a package wrapped in butcher paper. Venison their neighbor had given them last fall. She'd been saving it for something special. This qualified. Evie, Ray's voice was weak. Don't use that. That's for now. Evie pulled out the package. We've got guests, Ray. She unwrapped the venison and started cutting it into thin strips. She'd make a stew, stretch it with water and whatever else she could find. Cole, there's a cellar door in the back. Can you grab me some potatoes? Basket on the bottom shelf. Of course. Cole jumped up, grateful for something to do. When he was gone, Emma spoke softly. You don't have to do this. We can wait. We're not that hungry. Evie looked at the girl and saw through the lie. Emma's hands were trembling, her face still too ashen. The girl was hungry and her baby needed food. You're eating for two, Evie said firmly. And from the looks of that belly, you're growing a big baby who needs fuel. So you're going to eat what I give you without guilt. Emma's eyes filled with tears. But you have nothing. This house, She trailed off, embarrassed. Falling apart. Evie smiled without humor. Yeah, I know. Medical bills will do that. Ray's lungs started going bad 5 years ago. We had insurance, but it didn't cover everything. The bills kept coming until we didn't have anything left. I'm sorry, Emma whispered. Don't be. We're still here. We're still together. Evie dropped the venison into the pot. Besides, we've learned to make do with very little. Cole came back with potatoes that looked more like rocks. Evie sorted through them, cutting away bad parts. The stew bubbled and steamed. When it was ready, she ladled it into bowls. Here, it's not fancy, but it'll keep you going. Emma ate slowly, but Evie could see the hunger in every bite. This is delicious. How do you make everything taste so good? Practice. 50 years of making meals from whatever I could find. My father's house has a chef, Emma said suddenly, then looked horrified. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... It's okay. You come from money. Nothing wrong with that. From the couch, Ray shifted with a grunt of pain. Emma noticed immediately. Is he okay? End-stage COPD. His lungs are shot from 40 years in a furniture factory. The oxygen helps, but... Evie shrugged. We're on borrowed time. There must be treatments, Cole started. That costs money we don't have. The medication that might help costs $3,000 a month. Our pension is $800. Silence fell, only the crackling stove and Ray's labored breathing. Finally, Cole spoke. We were visiting Emma's father. He just had heart surgery. Cost about $200,000, but insurance covered most of it. He's recovering at his estate with private nurses. He said it carefully. Evie understood. They had money. Lots of it. That's good, she said evenly. I'm glad he's being taken care of. We live in Charleston, Emma added. Cole's family owns a real estate company. We were supposed to fly to the Bahamas next week for a baby moon. A baby moon. The idea of having so much money you could fly to another country just to relax. Sounds nice, Evie said and meant it. It is nice. Emma looked down. We're very fortunate, but sitting here eating this soup you made from practically nothing. She looked up, tears streaming. I've never felt more grateful for food in my entire life. Evie felt something crack in her chest. She turned away, focusing on cleaning. Ray coughed. Terrible. Wet. Cole jumped up. Can I help? Just his morning routine, Evie said, moving to Ray's side. But Ray's face was gray, his lips blue. Emma watched with wide eyes. Does he need a doctor? He needs a miracle, Evie said quietly. But those don't come cheap either. Behind her, she heard Emma whisper to Cole. They were young, healthy, rich. They had their whole lives ahead. Evie and Ray had this house, their pension, and whatever time was left. But they also had each other. And right now, they had two young people who needed help. Since we're stuck here, we might as well make the best of it. Evie straightened. Cole, bring in more wood. Emma, just rest. As she checked Emma's baby one more time, heartbeat still strong, they heard an engine in the distance. Is that a plow? Cole rushed to the window. Yes, someone's coming. Hope surged. Emma tried to stand. Ray lifted his head, but the sound grew closer, then stopped. Started again. Stopped. He's stuck, Ray said quietly. Road's too bad. Hope drained away. Emma sank back down. Then her face suddenly contorted. Her hand flew to her belly. Breathing quickened. Emma? Cole dropped beside her. What's wrong? I don't know. It just... Oh God, it hurts. Evie was moving, her nurse training kicking in. How long has it been hurting? I thought it was just cramps, but Emma's face went white. Oh no. Breathe. Just breathe. She pressed her hands against Emma's belly, hard as a rock, tight as a drum. A contraction. A real one. Cole, get me every towel in this house. Emma was panting, her face twisted. It's too soon. The doctor said. Babies don't care what doctors say. Evie took Emma's hand. How far apart are the pains? Maybe 30 minutes ago, I thought it was nothing. Emma gasped as another wave hit. It's coming again already. Evie counted. 30 minutes apart, now less than 10. Too fast. She looked at the frost-covered windows, at the stuck plow somewhere down the road, at Ray barely breathing. This baby was coming, soon, and there wasn't a damn thing she could do to stop it. The contraction hit Emma like a freight train. Her scream cut through the house, making Ray jerk awake and Cole freeze with an armful of towels. It hurts! Emma gasped between sobs. Why does it hurt so much? Evie forced herself to stay calm. 50 years since she delivered a baby, but the training was still there. Cole, spread those towels near the stove. We need to keep her warm. Evie's hands moved automatically. Emma, I need to check how dilated you are. Emma nodded frantically, tears streaming. Evie positioned herself and checked. Her heart sank. 6 centimeters? You're already at 6. What does that mean? Cole's voice cracked. This baby's coming fast. Too fast. How long ago did your water break? Emma's eyes widened. I don't know if it did. Everything was so wet last night. Think. Did you feel a gush? Maybe. I thought I peed myself. Emma's face crumpled. Oh God, is the baby okay? Evie listened with her stethoscope. The heartbeat was still there. Fast, but strong. Baby sounds good, but if your water broke hours ago, we're on a clock. What kind of clock? Cole grabbed her arm. Infection risk. We need to get this baby out safely. Another contraction hit. Emma arched off the floor, her hands clutching the towels. I can't do this. I need drugs. You need to breathe. Evie gripped Emma's hand. Look at me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You can do this. Not without hospitals. Emma sobbed. Yes, without all of that. Evie's voice took on steel. Your great-great-grandmother had no epidural. You've got something they didn't. You've got me. I'm not letting anything happen to you. Emma stared through tear-filled eyes. Promise? Evie felt the weight of that word. She couldn't promise, but Emma needed confidence. I promise I'll do everything in my power. Now save your breath for pushing. The next hour was hell. Contractions every 5 minutes, then 3, then 2. Emma screamed until her voice went hoarse. Cole held her hand and whispered encouragement. Ray kept the stove stoked, and Evie prayed harder than she'd prayed in her life. I need to push, Emma gasped. Not yet. Evie checked. 9 centimeters, almost there. I don't care. I need to pant like a dog. Evie demonstrated. Hee-hee-hoo. Emma tried, her face red and contorted. I hate you, Emma gasped. That's fine. You can hate me all you want, long as you keep breathing. Cole looked ready to pass out. Is this normal? Very normal, Evie lied. Nothing about this was normal. Evie checked again. 10 centimeters. Next contraction, you push. Finally! Emma's relief lasted 2 seconds before another wave hit. Oh God. Push! Now! Evie positioned herself. Give me everything! Emma pushed. Her face turned purple, veins standing out. Again! Evie commanded. Nothing. Again. Nothing. 30 minutes passed. Emma was weakening. Swooning. Her pushes less effective. I can't do it anymore, Emma whispered. I'm done. Emma, look at me. Evie grabbed her face. Right, you don't get to be done. That baby is counting on you. Now dig deep and find whatever's left. I have nothing left. From the couch, Ray's weak voice. Tell her about Sarah. Evie's breath caught. She hadn't thought about Sarah in years. Who's Sarah? Emma asked. Sarah was our daughter, born premature at 32 weeks, 3 pounds. Doctors said she'd die within hours. Emma's eyes widened. What happened? She lived for 3 days, fighting with everything she had. She never got to grow up, but she fought until her last breath. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be strong. Your baby has everything Sarah didn't, but you have to fight for it. Emma stared. Then something hardened in her eyes. Okay, I can do this. The next contraction came. Emma pushed with strength from nowhere. I see the head. Evie's voice cracked. One more push. One more. Emma gasped. She took a deep breath and pushed. The baby's head crowned. Evie guided it, checked for the cord, clear, and suddenly the baby was sliding out. It's a girl! Evie lifted the tiny body, checked for breathing. Nothing. Ray, bulb syringe, now! Ray threw it. Evie caught it, suctioned the baby's nose and mouth. Come on, come on! And then, a thin, reedy wail that grew stronger. The baby cried, Emma cried, Cole cried, even Ray sobbed from the couch. Evie wrapped the baby in the softest towel and placed her on Emma's chest. Your daughter, your beautiful daughter. Emma's arms came up, cradling the baby. The infant quieted, recognizing her mother's heartbeat. Hi, Grace, Emma whispered. We're so glad you're here. Grace. They'd named her Grace. Evie felt something break open in her chest, something locked away since Sarah died. She turned away quickly, busying herself with afterbirth, with checking Emma for tears. Behind her, Ray struggled to his feet, Walker in front, oxygen trailing behind. He shuffled over slowly until he could see the baby. Well, would you look at that? He whispered. A miracle. Evie looked at her husband, gray face, blue lips, oxygen tube, and felt tears sting. They'd made it. Somehow, impossibly, they'd made it through. Grace let out another cry. Emma laughed and adjusted her hold. Thank you, Cole said. We can never repay you. You don't owe me anything. But as she looked at the young family, whole and healthy, the baby nursing, she thought maybe they did owe her something. Not money, not gratitude, but memory. Someone to remember that once, 2 old people saved 3 lives with nothing but skill and compassion. That was payment enough. Baby Grace was 2 hours old when the knocking started again. This time it was different, official, purposeful. 3 sharp raps followed by a voice. This is County Rescue. Anyone home? Cole practically flew to the door, yanked it open to reveal 2 paramedics in heavy gear standing on the porch. Behind them, Evie could see a rescue vehicle with chains on its tires, its lights flashing red and blue against the white landscape. My wife just had a baby, Cole blurted out. Right here, like an hour ago. We know, sir. The plow operator radioed it in when he got stuck down the road. The first paramedic, a woman, young, efficient-looking, stepped inside and immediately started assessing the situation with professional eyes. How's Mom doing? Better than she should be, Evie said from her spot beside Emma. No excessive bleeding, baby's nursing well, all vitals stable. The paramedic turned to look at her, taking in Evie's age, her worn hands, the ancient medical kit on the floor. You delivered the baby. Someone had to. Evie felt suddenly defensive. I'm a retired nurse. I knew what I was doing. Ma'am, I'm not criticizing. I'm impressed. The paramedic knelt beside Emma, started her examination. Most people panic in situations like this. You probably saved 3 lives last night. The second paramedic, a man older, with kind eyes, approached Ray on the couch. How about you, sir? How are you feeling? Like I just watched a miracle, Ray wheezed. But I could use some of that fancy oxygen you folks carry around. Within minutes, the small house was full of organized chaos. The paramedics worked with smooth efficiency, checking Emma and Grace, switching Ray to their portable oxygen, preparing everyone for transport. We're taking all 5 of you to County General, the female paramedic, her name tag said Jennings, announced. Mom and baby need to be checked out properly, and sir, your oxygen levels are concerning. All 5? Evie felt confused, but Ray and I helped deliver a baby in sub-zero temperatures without proper equipment. The hospital wants to make sure you didn't pick up any infections, and frankly, you both look exhausted. Jennings's voice was gentle but firm. Besides, Mr. Johnson's oxygen saturation is at 85%. He needs to be seen. Ray started to protest, but dissolved into coughing instead. Evie felt her heart clench. 85%. That was bad. That was hospital bad. Cole stepped forward, still holding his phone. I've been trying to call Emma's father, but the signal's weak. Can we use your radio? He needs to know. We've already notified County General. They'll make the calls. Jennings was wrapping Grace in a thermal blanket, professional but gentle. Right now, let's focus on getting everyone somewhere warm and safe. The transport was surreal. Evie found herself in the back of the rescue vehicle, sitting across from Emma and Grace while the paramedics monitored everyone's vitals. Cole was beside his wife, his hand never leaving hers. Ray was in the second vehicle with the male paramedic. They'd split them up because of equipment needs. Evie watched the woods roll by outside the window, watched their tiny house disappear behind the trees. It looked even more run down from out here, like something out of a Depression-era photograph, a monument to poverty and endurance. "Are you okay?" Emma asked quietly. Grace was sleeping against her chest, wrapped in blankets, perfectly content. "I'm fine." Evie's voice came out rougher than she intended. "Just tired." "You saved my life." Emma's eyes were fierce. "You saved my baby's life. I don't know how to... I can't even find the words." "You don't need to find words." Evie looked away, uncomfortable with the gratitude. Anyone would have done the same. "No." Emma shook her head firmly. "Most people would have been too scared, or they wouldn't have known what to do, or they would have panicked. But you didn't. You stayed calm, and you delivered my baby like you'd done it yesterday instead of 50 years ago." Evie felt her throat tighten. "I was terrified the whole time." "You didn't show it." Cole spoke up, his voice thick with emotion. "You made us believe everything would be okay. Even when it seemed impossible, you made us believe." The rescue vehicle hit a bump, jostling everyone. Grace made a small sound but didn't wake. Outside, the world was still buried in white, but the sun was trying to break through the clouds. "What happens now?" Evie asked. "With you folks, I mean. You were on your way to see Emma's father." "He'll wait." Cole's hand tightened on Emma's. "Right now, all that matters is that Emma and Grace are safe. Everything else can wait." But Evie saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, maybe, or worry. She understood. They had a life to get back to. Jobs, responsibilities, a world that didn't include a falling-apart house in the middle of nowhere. The hospital appeared on the horizon, County General, a sprawling complex that looked like a small city. The rescue vehicle pulled up to the emergency entrance, and suddenly they were surrounded by people in scrubs, by rolling beds and bright lights and the smell of antiseptic. Emma was whisked away immediately, Grace still in her arms. Cole followed, looking back once at Evie with an expression she couldn't quite read. And then Evie was alone with a nurse who was asking her questions. Name, age, medical history, what happened last night. And she answered on autopilot while her mind wandered. Ray. Where was Ray? Was he okay? "Ma'am." The nurse touched her arm gently. "Your husband is being taken to the ICU for observation. His oxygen levels are very low. You can see him once we get you checked out." ICU. The words hit Evie like a punch. Is he going to be okay?" "The doctors are with him now. But I need you to focus on yourself for a minute. When's the last time you ate?" Evie tried to remember. The soup. She'd made soup for Emma and Cole, but she hadn't eaten any herself. Before that, maybe a piece of toast yesterday morning. Or was it the day before? "I don't remember," she admitted. The nurse's expression softened. "Okay, let's get some food in you and run some blood work. Then you can see your husband." The next few hours blurred together. Blood drawn, blood pressure checked. A meal that was supposed to be breakfast but tasted like cardboard. Evie ate it anyway because the nurse stood there until she finished. Finally, they let her go to the ICU. Ray looked tiny in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed and breathed for him. His color was better. The oxygen mask over his face was doing its job, but he looked exhausted in a way that made Evie's heart hurt. "Hey," she said softly, taking his hand. "You scared me." Ray's eyes opened. He managed a weak smile behind the oxygen mask. "Takes more than that to get rid of me." "Don't joke." Evie's voice cracked. "Your oxygen was at 85%, Ray. 85. You could have died last night." "Didn't though." Ray squeezed her hand. "We made it. All of us." "The doctor says you need to stay here for a few days. They want to adjust your medications, maybe try a new treatment." Evie blinked back tears. "It's going to cost money we don't have." "We'll figure it out." Ray's voice was muffled by the mask. "We always do." But Evie could see it in his eyes. He knew as well as she did that they were out of options. Out of money. Out of time. Out of miracles. A knock on the door made them both look up. Cole stood there looking freshly showered and wearing clothes that definitely hadn't come from Ray's closet. Someone, Emma's father probably, must have brought him things. "Sorry to interrupt," Cole said hesitantly. I just wanted to check on you both. Emma's asking about you." "How is she?" Evie asked. "And the baby?" "Perfect, both perfect." Cole's face lit up with joy. "The doctors say Grace is completely healthy. 10 fingers, 10 toes, strong heartbeat, good weight. It's like last night never happened." "Last night happened," Ray said quietly. "You just can't see the scars yet." Cole's smile faded. He stepped into the room, closed the door behind him. "I need to talk to you both about something." Evie felt her spine stiffen. Here it came. The thank you, the goodbye, the promise to stay in touch that would fade within weeks. She'd seen it before with other people she'd helped over the years. Good intentions that couldn't survive the reality of different worlds. "Emma and I have been talking," Cole continued, "about what you did for us, about what we owe you." "You don't owe us anything," Evie said firmly. "Please let me finish." Cole took a breath. "I tried to pay for some emergency supplies when we got here. Blankets, formula, stuff the hospital said we'd need. The clerk told me someone had already covered it. Turns out, you put it on your credit card, the one that's already maxed out." Evie felt her face flush. "That's not your concern." "It is when you did it for my wife and daughter." Cole's voice was gentle but determined. "Emma's father is on his way here. He's bringing his lawyers. We want to help, and before you say no, please just hear me out. We don't take charity," Ray said, his voice stronger than it had been. "It's not charity. It's gratitude." Cole pulled up a chair, sat down so he was eye level with them both. "You saved 3 lives last night. My wife, my daughter, and probably me too, because I don't think I could have survived losing them. That's not something you just say thank you for and move on." "What are you proposing?" Evie asked, even though part of her didn't want to know. "We pay for Mr. Johnson's treatment, all of it, whatever he needs for as long as he needs it." Cole held up a hand when Evie started to protest. "And we help with other expenses, house repairs, groceries, medical bills, whatever you need to not have to choose between heating your home and eating." Evie felt tears burning behind her eyes. "That's too much. We can't accept that." "Why not?" "Because..." Evie struggled to find the words. "Because we're strangers. Because you don't owe us your money. Because I did what anyone with a conscience would do." "But you're not anyone," Cole said softly. "You're the woman who opened her door in the middle of a deadly storm. You're the woman who gave us food when you had none for yourself. You're the woman who delivered my daughter with nothing but 50-year-old training and sheer determination. You're not just anyone, Mrs. Johnson. You're exceptional." Ray squeezed Evie's hand. She looked at him, saw the hope in his eyes battling with the pride that had kept them going all these years. "What about Emma?" Evie asked. "What does she think?" "She's the one who suggested it." Cole smiled. "Actually, she demanded it. Said if we don't help you, she's going to bring Grace to visit every week until you change your mind." Despite everything, Evie felt a laugh bubble up. She would too, wouldn't she? "Absolutely." Cole leaned forward. "Please, let us do this. Not because you need it, though God knows you do, but because we need it. We need to know that the people who saved our family aren't struggling while we go back to our comfortable life." Evie looked at Ray. 52 years of marriage meant they could have whole conversations without words. She saw his fear, his hope, his exhaustion. She saw the way he was thinking about that new medication, about not having to choose between oxygen and groceries, about maybe, just maybe, having a little more time. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, we'll accept your help." Cole's face broke into a grin. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to us." But Evie thought maybe she did. It meant the same thing to them that opening that door last night had meant to her. A chance to be human, to be good, to make a difference in someone else's life. "There's just one condition," Ray said suddenly. "Anything," Cole agreed immediately. "When that little girl is old enough to understand, you tell her this story. You tell her about the night she was born, and you make sure she knows that sometimes the richest gifts come from the poorest people." Cole's eyes filled with tears. "I promise. I'll tell her everything." He stood up to leave, then paused at the door. "Emma's father wants to meet you both. Is that okay? He's pretty intense, but he means well." "We'd be honored," Evie said. After Cole left, Evie and Ray sat in silence for a long moment, the reality of what had just happened slowly sinking in. "We're gonna be okay," Ray said finally. For the first time in years, Evie, we're actually going to be okay. Evie squeezed his hand, too overwhelmed to speak. Through the window, she could see the sun breaking through the clouds, turning the snow-covered world into something that looked almost magical. They'd made it through the storm, all of them, and maybe, just maybe, they'd found something better than survival on the other side. The first month after felt like a dream. The trust fund was established, deposits started arriving, and suddenly they had breathing room. They could buy Ray's medication without checking the account, turn on heat without calculating cost, go to the grocery store and fill a cart. It felt surreal, but Ray wasn't getting better. It's the disease, Dr. Patterson explained during a follow-up. COPD is progressive. We can slow it, manage symptoms, give him more time, but we can't stop it. How much time? With new treatment? Maybe a year, maybe 2 if we're lucky. I'm sorry. That night, Evie sat beside Ray's bed and tried not to cry. He was sleeping. Exhaustion had gotten worse, his body burning through energy just to breathe. The second month, Ray started refusing to leave the house. Too tired, he'd say. You go without me. Evie watched him shrink into himself, spending more time sleeping, the life draining out in inches. You have to fight, she told him, voice sharp with fear. I'm not giving up. I'm just tired, Evie. So tired. She called Dr. Patterson, who adjusted medications and ordered tests. Nothing helped. Ray continued to fade. It's not the money, Dr. Patterson said gently. Some things money can't fix. By the third month, Ray couldn't get out of bed without help. Evie hired a home health aide. Patricia, kind, came 3 times a week. The trust covered it, but Evie resented every moment someone else spent caring for her husband. That was her job. Emma called every week. She'd put the phone on speaker so Evie could hear Grace cooing in the background. How's Mr. Johnson? Emma always asked. He's okay. Evie always lied. The 4th month, Ray stopped eating. Just not hungry, he'd say, pushing away soups and soft foods. Don't worry. But Evie worried constantly. She watched him disappear inside his own body. Ray, please, you have to eat something. Tired. Let me rest. Dr. Patterson came for an emergency visit. His face was grave after examining Ray. His lungs are failing, he said quietly. We're looking at weeks, maybe days. I'm sorry. But the treatment, the medications. I know. We've tried everything. At this point, the kindest thing is keeping him comfortable. No more hospitals, just comfort care. You mean hospice? Yes. Evie called Emma that night, hands shaking. It's Ray. He's dying. They're saying days, maybe a week. Emma gasped. Oh God. Evie, I'm so sorry. What can we do? I don't know. I don't know how to let him go. I'm coming. Tomorrow. We're staying as long as you need. Emma arrived the next morning with Grace, coal, and enough supplies to last a week. She took one look at Evie and pulled her into a tight hug. He's in the bedroom, sleeping a lot. They found Ray awake, oxygen mask on, eyes clearer than they'd been in days. When he saw Grace, something like joy flickered. There's my girl, he whispered. Emma brought Grace over, laid her gently beside Ray. The baby made happy sounds, waved tiny fists. Ray's hand found Grace's foot, squeezed gently. Going to grow up strong and beautiful. Thanks to you, Emma said, tears streaming. Evie did all the work. I just kept the fire going. They stayed for hours. Emma sat beside Ray's bed with Grace, telling him about the baby's first smile, first laugh, all the milestones he'd helped make possible. The foundation, Ray said suddenly. It's going to help people? So many people, Cole assured him. We've already funded 3 families. Medical bills, home repairs, emergency assistance. Just like you helped us. Ray smiled, eyes closing. Good, that's good. When they left that evening, Emma hugged Evie so tightly it hurt. Call me, anytime. I mean it. The next 3 days were the longest of Evie's life. She sat beside Ray's bed, held his hand, talked about their 52 years together. Remember Sarah? She whispered on the 3rd night. Ray's eyes opened slightly. Going to see her soon? Not yet. Stay with me a little longer. Tired. I know, but I'm not ready. You're always ready. Strongest woman I ever knew. Only because you made me that way. They sat in silence, the oxygen humming, the house creaking. Evie, Ray's voice was barely audible. Open that door, the one at the end. He was asking permission, asking if it was okay to let go. It's okay, she whispered, even though every fiber screamed no. You can rest now. His hand squeezed hers one last time. Love you forever. Forever. Ray took a breath, then another, shallower, then one more, barely there, then nothing. The silence was absolute. Evie sat holding his hand, watching the man she'd loved for 52 years slip away. She thought she'd be prepared. Years of nursing, deaths she'd witnessed, none of it made this easier. She called Emma at 3:47 a.m. He's gone! Ray's gone! Emma's sob was immediate. I'm coming, right now! Emma arrived with sunrise, Grace bundled in pink, Cole driving like he was chased. They found Evie still sitting beside Ray, still holding his cold hand. Evie, sweetheart, you need to let go now. I know, but her fingers wouldn't release. It took Emma and Cole both carefully prying her fingers loose, helping her stand. I don't know what to do now, Evie whispered. I've been taking care of him so long. You take care of yourself, Emma said firmly. You rest, you grieve, you let us help. The funeral was small. Evie, Emma, Cole, Grace, a few neighbors. Richard Morrison sent elaborate flowers. They buried him under an oak tree. The headstone was simple. Ray Johnson, beloved husband, he kept the fire going. That night, alone in the enormous empty house, Evie made a decision. She called Emma. I need to talk about the foundation. Of course, what do you need? I want to do more with it. Ray died comfortable, warm, fed, not worrying about money. I want other people to have that. What are you thinking? I want to help more families, not just emergency assistance, something bigger, something that honors what Ray and I learned. Emma was quiet. Then, tell me what you need. They talked for 2 hours. By the end, they had a plan. The Johnson Family Foundation would expand, not just financial assistance, but a network of support. Medical care, home repairs, food assistance, counseling, everything a family in crisis might need. We'll start small, Emma said. 10 families this year, 20 next. We'll grow it slowly, do it right. And I want to be involved. I can't just sit here. I need to be part of it. Then you will be. You'll be the heart of it. After they hung up, Evie sat in the quiet house and felt something shift. Ray was gone. That pain would never fully heal, but his legacy, their legacy, would live on. And maybe that was enough. 3 weeks after Ray's funeral, trucks pulled up at 7 a.m., then another truck, then a van full of people in Grace Foundation t-shirts. Evie opened the door in her bathrobe, confused and half asleep. Cole stood on her porch, grinning. Good morning. Hope you don't mind the early start. What's all this? This is the beginning of something new. Over 2 hours, her living room transformed. Proper desk, comfortable office chair, filing cabinets, advanced computer setup. Emma arrived around 9, Grace on her hip carrying coffee and pastries. Surprise, you're officially employed. Employed? As Director of Community Outreach for the Grace Foundation, Emma pulled out an envelope. This is your job offer, salary separate from your trust, and full benefits. You'll work with families who need help, coordinate assistance, be the face of the foundation. Evie opened the envelope with shaking hands. The salary made her gasp. This is too much. It's actually below market rate for your experience, Cole said, but we figured you'd say that. I don't have experience running a foundation. You have experience saving lives with compassion and determination. That's better than any business degree. Next on the equipment was set up. Truck drivers filed out, leaving a living room that looked more like an office. We've identified 12 families who need help, Emma said, pulling up a chair. Medical crises, job losses, home disasters, real people drowning and needing someone to throw them a rope, just like we needed you. Evie looked at the computer screen. Photos of families, a single mother with a sick child, an elderly couple whose house burned, a veteran with medical bills, real people with real problems. When do I start? Right now, if you want. Cole handed her a folder. This is the Martinez family. Their son has leukemia, drowning in medical debt, about to lose their house. We can help, but we need someone to coordinate. That someone is you. Evie opened the folder. 8-year-old Danny Martinez diagnosed with leukemia 6 months ago. Father lost his job. Mother quit to be with Danny. Medical bills approaching $300,000. Foreclosure notice. This boy needs help, Evie said quietly. So help him. That's what you do. Evie picked up the phone. Over 3 months, Evie threw herself in. She coordinated assistance for 12 families, then 15, then 20. She visited homes, held hands while they cried, helped navigate medical bills and insurance. She was good at it. "You have a gift," one mother told her, crying. "You make people feel seen. You do matter." Evie said simply. Danny Martinez recovered. The family kept their house. 2 months later, Danny's father sent a photo, bald but smiling, holding a sign. "Thank you." Evie put the photo on her desk beside the one of Ray. Emma visited every week, sometimes twice. Grace was growing, sitting up, grabbing everything, laughing. She'd light up seeing Evie reaching out chubby arms. "She knows you," Emma said. "She feels safe with you." "I feel safe with her too." One evening, 6 months after Ray's death, Emma showed up without calling. Evie opened the door to find her with Grace, both dressed up. "We're kidnapping you. Dinner at my father's estate." He insists. "I'm not dressed." "You look fine. Come on." The drive took 40 minutes. Evie watched the landscape change from rural to suburban to magazine perfect. The estate was enormous. Sprawling mansion, manicured grounds, circular driveway, cars everywhere. "Why so many cars?" Evie asked nervously. Emma smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." Inside, the foyer was packed. Evie recognized some, the Martinez family, the burned house couple, the single mother, all 20 families the foundation had helped. "Surprise!" they shouted. Evie's knees went weak. Emma caught her arm. "What is this?" "This," Richard Morrison said, appearing from the crowd, "is a thank you from all of us." For 2 hours, Evie was pulled family to family, each thanking her, showing photos of healthy children and new homes and fresh starts. "You're a hero," Danny's mother said, hugging tight. "You saved my son." "The foundation saved him." "No, you saved him. You made calls, showed up, cared. That was you." At dinner, Richard Morrison stood and raised his glass. 6 months ago, my daughter and granddaughter almost died. They were saved by 2 people who had nothing but gave everything. Ray Johnson is gone, but his widow continues his legacy. To Evie Johnson, the heart of the Grace Foundation. "To Evie," everyone echoed. Evie felt tears. She looked around at these people, strangers who'd become family, like Emma and Cole, like Grace, who'd become the granddaughter she never had. After dinner, Emma pulled her aside. "I have something for you." An envelope. Inside, a check. $1 million. Evie stared, unable to process. "What is this?" "From my father, Cole's family, and the foundation board. We've been talking about growth. We can help 20 families or thousands." "I don't understand." "The million isn't for you personally, though you deserve it. It's seed money to expand. Hire staff, rent office space, create programs, turn this into something bigger. But I don't know how to run something that big." "Then we'll learn together." Emma took Evie's hands. "My father wants this as his legacy. Cole wants to be involved full time. And I want Grace to grow up seeing real compassion. I want her to know wealth means nothing if you don't use it to help people." Evie looked at the check, at the impossible zeros. She thought about Ray, about that terrible night, about the tiny house where they delivered a baby with nothing but courage. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's do it." Emma's face broke into a radiant smile. "One more thing. We want to name the first permanent location after Ray. The Ray Johnson Community Center, free medical consultations, legal aid, job training, food assistance, everything someone in crisis might need." Evie couldn't speak, just nodded, tears streaming. Emma hugged her tight. "He'd be so proud." "I hope so." Grace fussed in her carrier. Emma picked her up, handed her to Evie. "She's been asking for her Grandma Evie all day." Grandma Evie. The title made her heart ache in the best way. She held Grace close, felt the baby's warm weight, and thought about Ray, about how he'd said they needed to tell Grace this story, to make sure she knew sometimes the richest gifts come from the poorest people. They'd done better than tell her. They'd shown her, and they were just getting started. 4 years later, Evie stood in front of a building with her late husband's name on it. The Ray Johnson Community Center occupied an entire city block in the poorest part of town. 3 stories of brick and glass, medical clinic on the first floor, job training and legal aid on the second, food bank and community kitchen on the third. And on that third floor in the corner with the best light sat table number 5. "It's perfect," Emma said beside her, Grace's hand in hers. The little girl was 4 now, with her mother's dark hair and her father's smile. "It's everything we talked about. It's more than I imagined." Evie's voice was thick. Ray would have loved it. The grand opening was tomorrow, but today was just for family. Evie, Emma, Cole, Grace, and Richard Morrison walked through the empty building. "Medical clinic can see up to 50 patients a day," Cole explained. 4 doctors, 6 nurses, full support staff. All care is free. "Legal aid office has 3 attorneys on retainer," Richard added. "Evictions, immigration issues, bankruptcy. Food bank can feed 200 families a week," Emma said, leading them upstairs. "We've partnered with local grocery stores, and we're running a community garden next door." But it was the community kitchen that made Evie's breath catch. Industrial stoves, commercial refrigerators, prep stations. And in the corner, by the window where afternoon sun streamed, a simple wooden table with 5 chairs. A small plaque on the wall read, "Table number 5, in memory of the night that started it all." "This table is always free," Emma said quietly. "Anyone who comes here hungry gets a meal, no questions asked, just like you fed us." Grace tugged Evie's hand. "Tell me the story again, Grandma Evie." Evie smiled, crouching to Grace's level. "Which story, sweetheart?" "The story of the night I was born, how you saved us." Grace never tired of hearing it. Emma and Cole had kept their promise. They'd told her everything. "Well," Evie began, settling into a chair at table 5, "it was the worst storm anyone had seen in 20 years. As she talked, she watched Grace's eyes grow wide. The little girl knew every detail but listened like it was the first time. When Evie got to the birth, to those terrifying moments when she thought she couldn't do it, Grace interrupted. "But you did do it, because you're brave." "I was scared out of my mind," Evie corrected gently. "But sometimes being brave means doing what needs to be done even when you're terrified." After the tour, they went to dinner at a small restaurant. Nothing fancy, just good food and company. Grace chatted about kindergarten and friends and the ribbon cutting tomorrow. "I get to cut the ribbon," she announced proudly. "Mommy said I can because it's named after Great-Grandpa Ray." "That's right, the youngest and oldest generation together." "Circle of life," Richard mused. "Ray would have appreciated that." Evie felt her throat tighten. Ray had been gone 4 years, but some days it felt like yesterday. Some days she still turned to tell him something before remembering, but then she'd feel Grace's hand in hers, or visit the center and see people being helped, and she'd remember Ray wasn't gone. His legacy lived on in every family they helped, in every life they saved, in every person who found hope. The grand opening was overwhelming. Hundreds showed up, families the foundation had helped, politicians, news crews, curious community members. Emma gave a speech about compassion and second chances. Cole talked about paying forward help you've received. Richard explained the funding model. Then it was Evie's turn. She stood at the podium looking at the sea of faces, feeling 76 years suddenly very heavy. But she also felt Ray beside her, his hand on her shoulder, saying she could do this. 4 years ago, she began, a young couple showed up at my door in the middle of a blizzard. They were strangers. They were desperate. They needed help I wasn't sure I could give. The crowd was silent. My husband Ray and I didn't have much. We were broke, old, scared. But we opened that door anyway. That night changed all our lives. She paused, looking at Emma and Cole, at Grace between them. This building, this center, it's not really about my husband, even though it bears his name. It's about a simple idea that sometimes the people with the least have the most to give. That compassion doesn't require wealth, only willingness. That a bowl of soup shared with strangers can be worth more than all the money in the world. She saw people nodding, some wiping eyes. Table number 5 upstairs represents 5 people who survived a storm together. Ray, myself, Emma, Cole, and baby Grace. We survived because we helped each other, because we chose compassion over fear. Because we opened a door we could have kept closed. Evie's voice grew stronger. Every day, people will come here with their own storms. Job loss, illness, homelessness, hunger. And every day, we're going to open the door. We're going to say, come in, you're safe here. We're going to share what we have, even when it doesn't seem enough. She looked at Grace. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not buildings or bank accounts, but the knowledge that kindness ripples outward, that one act of compassion can save a life, which can save another life, which can change the world. The crowd erupted in applause. Evie stepped back, legs shaking, and found Emma waiting with Grace. "That was beautiful," Emma whispered, hugging tight. Grace tugged Evie's sleeve. "Can I cut the ribbon now?" "Absolutely, sweetheart." They moved outside where a ceremonial ribbon stretched across the main entrance. Grace stood in front holding oversized scissors, with Evie's hand guiding hers. "On 3, Emma said, phone camera ready. 1, 2, 3. Together, Grace and Evie cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered, the doors opened, and the Ray Johnson Community Center officially began its work. The first person through the door was a woman with 2 small children, their clothes worn, faces tired. She looked around uncertainly. Evie walked over, smiled warmly. "Welcome. What do you need today?" The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Everything. I need everything. I lost my job, we got evicted, and I don't know where we're going to sleep tonight." "Come with me." Evie took her hand. "Let's see what we can do." 2 hours later, the woman had a place to stay for the next month, an appointment with legal aid, and 3 bags of groceries. Her children had new winter coats and were eating sandwiches at table 5. "I can't believe this is real," the woman said, crying. "I can't believe there are still good people." "There are more than you think," Evie assured her. "You just have to know where to look." As the day wore on, Evie watched the center come to life. The medical clinic saw 23 patients. The food bank distributed to 45 families. Legal aid had 17 consultations. And table 5 never stayed empty. Someone was always sitting there, eating a hot meal, finding peace. That evening, after everyone left, Evie stood alone in the community kitchen. Easy. She ran her hand over table 5, remembering that terrible night 4 years ago. "We did it, Ray," she whispered. "We really did it." She felt him then, as clearly as if he were beside her. His approval, his pride, his love wrapping around her like a warm blanket. The door opened. Emma came in carrying a sleeping Grace. "I thought we'd find you here. Just saying goodnight to Ray." Emma walked over, shifted Grace so she could put one hand on Evie's shoulder. "He knows. Wherever he is, he knows what you've built." "What we've built," Evie corrected. "All of us together." Grace stirred, opened her eyes sleepily. "Grandma Evie, are we at table 5? "We are, sweetheart." Grace reached out her little hand, patted the table like she was blessing it. "This is where love starts." Evie felt tears stream down her face, out of the mouths of babes. "Yes, baby," she whispered. "This is exactly where love starts." 1 year after the Ray Johnson Community Center opened, Evie stood at a podium facing reporters and announced the expansion. "We're opening 12 new community centers across the state," she said, her voice steady despite her 77 years. Each one modeled after the Ray Johnson Center, each committed to serving families in crisis with compassion and dignity. A reporter leaned forward. "Mrs. Johnson, the foundation has helped over 1,500 families in just 5 years. To what do you attribute this success?" Evie smiled, thinking about Ray, about that terrible night, about a scared young couple at her door. "We succeed because we remember what it's like to have nothing. And we never forget that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the biggest impact." After the press conference, Emma found her in the original community kitchen at table 5, where she often came to think. 12 centers, Emma said, sitting down beside her. "Can you believe it? Sometimes I have to pinch myself." Evie looked around the busy kitchen. 5 years ago, I was sitting in a falling apart house watching my husband die. Now look at this. Now look at what you've built." "What we've built," Evie corrected automatically. Grace burst through the door, now 5 years old and full of energy. "Grandma Evie, guess what? My teacher said we're doing a project about heroes, and I told her I'm going to write about you." Evie felt her eyes sting. "I'm not a hero, sweetheart." "Yes, you are." Grace climbed into her lap, as natural as breathing. "You save people. That's what heroes do." "I just help when I can." "That's what makes you a hero." Grace's logic was irrefutable at 5 years old. Cole appeared in the doorway. "There you are. Evie, the Martinez family is here. Danny wanted to see you." Evie stood, Grace still in her arms. "Danny's here?" They walked to the main entrance where the Martinez family waited. Danny, now 13 and cancer-free for 5 years, ran up and hugged Evie tight. "Mrs. Johnson, I got accepted to the science program at the high school." "Danny, that's wonderful." Evie hugged him back, remembering the bald, scared 8-year-old from that first case file. Danny's mother wiped tears. "He wouldn't be here without you. We'd have lost everything. Our house, our hope, our son. You saved us." "The foundation saved you." "No." Danny's father shook his head. "You saved us. You showed up at our house when we had nothing. You held my wife when she cried. You made phone calls and cut through red tape and never gave up on us." "That was you." Evie felt overwhelmed. "I'm just glad I could help." "You did more than help." Danny's mother took Evie's hand. "You showed us that strangers can become family, that kindness still exists in the world. You gave us hope when we had none left." After they left, Evie returned to table 5 with Emma, Cole, and Grace. The dinner rush was starting. Families coming in for free meals, the kitchen staff bustling. "Do you ever think about that night?" Emma asked quietly. "The storm?" "Every day," Evie admitted. "Every single day." "Do you regret it? Opening the door?" "Never." Evie's voice was firm. "That night took everything from me and gave me everything back. I lost Ray, but I gained you. I gained Grace. I gained purpose. I gained a family I never knew I needed." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "We're the ones who gained a family. Grace is growing up knowing that wealth means nothing without compassion, that the most important thing you can do is help someone when they need it most." Grace, coloring at the table, looked up. "Like you helped us, Grandma Evie." "Exactly like that, sweetheart." Richard Morrison arrived, as he often did for Thursday family dinners at table 5. Despite his wealth and status, he never missed these dinners. "How was the press conference?" he asked, settling into a chair. "Good. The reporters were impressed by the expansion." "They should be. 5 years ago, this was just an idea. Now we have 13 centers, over 200 employees, and we're helping thousands of families every year." Richard smiled. "Ray would be proud." "I hope so." A young woman approached their table hesitantly. She was maybe 19, with a baby on her hip and fear in her eyes. "Excuse me," she said softly. Is this really table 5, where anyone can get a meal?" Evie stood immediately. "It is. Come, sit down. What's your name?" "Jessica. This is my daughter, Lily. We're staying at a shelter right now. I lost my job last month, and I'm trying to get back on my feet. But it's so hard." "I understand." Evie guided her to the table. "Sit. Let me get you both some food, and then we'll talk about what else you need." "Do you have a caseworker?" "Not yet. I didn't know where to start." "You start here." Evie smiled warmly. "That's what this place is for." Within an hour, Jessica had a hot meal, a bag of groceries, an appointment with the legal aid office, and a referral to the job training program. Baby Lily had a new outfit from the donation closet and was playing happily with Grace. "I can't believe this is real," Jessica whispered, tears streaming down her face. I thought no one cared anymore." "We care," Evie said simply. "That's why we're here." After Jessica left with hope in her eyes instead of fear, Emma turned to Evie. "That could have been me 5 years ago. If I'd been alone, if the car had crashed differently, if you hadn't opened your door, that could have been me and Grace, desperate and scared. But it wasn't. You're here, you're safe, and now you're helping others be safe too." Cole put his arm around Emma. "Do you remember what Ray said about telling Grace the story when she was old enough?" "I remember. I think she's old enough now, not just to hear it, but to understand it." They all turned to look at Grace, who was playing with building blocks in the corner of the kitchen. "Grace," Emma called. "Come here, sweetheart. We want to tell you a story." Grace ran over, climbing into Evie's lap. "The story about the night I was born?" "Yes, but the whole story this time, the parts we haven't told you yet." For the next hour, they told Grace everything about the poverty, the fear, the difficult choice to open the door, about the soup made from almost nothing, about Ray's sacrifice even though he could barely breathe, about the terrifying birth with no equipment or help. Grace listened with wide eyes, asking questions, trying to understand. "So you were poor?" she asked Evie. "Like really poor?" "Very poor, sweetheart. We didn't have money for food or heat. We were barely surviving. But you still helped my mom and dad? Of course we did. They needed help, and we could give it. Grace was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, is that why Table 5 is free? So people who are poor like you were can still eat? Exactly right. And the whole building is named after Great-Grandpa Ray because he helped too? He did. Even though he was very sick, he kept the fire going and made sure everyone stayed warm. Grace thought about this seriously. Then she slid off Evie's lap and walked to the plaque on the wall beside Table 5. She stood on her tiptoes to touch it. "Thank you, Great-Grandpa Ray," she said softly, "for keeping the fire going." Evie felt tears streaming down her face. Emma was crying too, and even Cole and Richard had suspiciously bright eyes. "You know what?" Grace turned back to them. "When I grow up, I want to work here. At Table 5, I want to help people like you helped my family." "You can do whatever you want when you grow up," Emma said. "I want to do this." Grace's voice was certain in the way only a 5-year-old's can be. "Because Grandma Evie says the richest gifts come from the poorest people, and I want to give rich gifts." Evie opened her arms, and Grace ran into them. As she held the little girl close, she thought about Ray, about Sarah, about all the lives that had touched hers and shaped her. "You already give rich gifts, sweetheart," Evie whispered, "just by being you." That night, after everyone had gone home, Evie sat alone at Table 5 one more time. The kitchen was quiet, the dinner rush long over. Moonlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the simple wooden table that had come to mean so much. She ran her hand over the smooth wood, remembering Ray, Emma, Cole, Grace, and herself. 5 people thrown together by a storm, bound together by compassion. "We did good, Ray," she said to the empty room. "We did real good." And in the silence, she could almost hear his voice. "You did more than good, Evie. You changed the world." She smiled, stood up, and turned off the lights. Tomorrow would bring new families, new crises, new opportunities to help. The work would never be done. But that was okay, because every person who walked through those doors, every meal served at Table 5, every life changed for the better. That was Ray's legacy. That was their legacy. That was proof that love, compassion, and sacrifice could echo through generations. As Evie locked up and headed home, she looked back at the Ray Johnson Community Center, at the light still glowing in the windows. "This is where love starts," she whispered, repeating Grace's words. And somewhere in the night, somewhere beyond seeing, she felt Ray smile.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.